doing? It's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. Thanks for coming by to check out another video. It's been a while since you have seen me in the Primetime Treasure Mobile, at least a few weeks, and there's a very good reason for that. It is the beginning to middle of November, and so garage sales around here are gone up in the Northeast. So that does leave some other sourcing opportunities available to me. There are always going to be estate sales, but there's not as many usually this time of year compared to when it's warmer out. But there will be one coming up soon that we'll be going to. And, you know, every winter time and beginning of the spring when it's still cold out up here, there's usually some kind of private estate sale pick that I wind up going to and getting something. Like last year was the storage unit content. So who knows what will present itself this year. Sometimes it's something big, sometimes it's something smaller. This time I am actually going out to an opportunity that's a little bit smaller, but it's from somebody that I know very well, have a good relationship with. The person happens to be clearing out an estate and came across some vintage monster magazines, and I looked at some of the titles, and one of them I haven't even seen any kind of comp for or listing for recently, and that's actually good. That piqued my interest because it looks like one that doesn't come up too often. And so monster magazines, old horror magazines, I love picking up that sort of stuff. So I'm going to go over there and pick them up. Person put them on the side for me. I don't think they'll cost a ton, but because this is not a big, you know, giant haul pickup, I'm probably going to pay up a little bit for them, but it's worth it. This person has provided me so many amazing opportunities in the past, including many big opportunities that, you know, when an opportunity like this one pops up, I still want to take advantage of it because I still want to keep that connection going. So we're going to head out there right now, pick up the monster magazines. I'll show you what I wound up picking up, and then I've got to tell you about this nightmare of an estate sale that I went to. So hang on for that. Let's go over, get those monster mags. Almost there. 3 o'clock. It's already getting dark out almost. All right. Spooky. All right, we're out of there. Did very well. Let's get back to Primetime Treasure headquarters, and I'll show you all the good stuff that I found. All right, so lots of great vintage horror items to show you and a couple miscellaneous things as well. So let's start with this one right here. This is an unopened Dracula jigsaw puzzle from 1974. Just amazing to me that it has never been opened. Clearly, the person who purchased it got it for display, so you could see there. In fact, just open up right here. You could see it has never been opened. So something like this probably go for around 30 bucks or so, maybe a little bit more, just depending on the market. It is Christmas time. Just have to see how many people have something like this available, but definitely a very, very cool piece. I imagine probably the person who would purchase this would also want to keep it on display and not open it. But you never know. There are some people out there that would want to do that. And by having it unopened, it really makes it guaranteed that it's going to sell, because there's a guarantee that you can offer that all of the puzzle pieces are there. And so that's a good thing right there. Anytime you see these 8mm films with vintage horror in it, I always suggest picking them up. So this is War of the Colossal Beast. This movie came out in 1958, so it's not a super well-known movie, but there are horror collectors that like to watch movies like this on 8mm film. So this is about a $15 to $20 piece right here. So you could see there's the film inside, and so looks to be in good shape. So that's a good piece as well. There were a couple of good photographs of Dracula. There's a lot of Dracula based stuff there. So here we go right here. This looks to be Christopher Lee. Many of you may know him as Count Dooku from Star Wars, but he also played Dracula along with Bela Lugosi. So just great vintage Dracula actors right there. So these are nice old vintage 8x10 photos. This one has a little staining on the back, and This one doesn't have so much, but collector would definitely like to have something like this to just, you know, hang up, put in a frame, something like that. All right, so speaking of Christopher Lee and Bela Lugosi, there were 2 vintage horror records that I found with them on the cover. I was excited to pick those up. This is the first one here from the Hammer film series of Dracula. If you haven't seen those before, I highly suggest them. They're absolutely excellent. Christopher Lee is one of my favorite actors. If you're younger, you will know of him as Count Dooku from the Star Wars series. Count Dooku, Count Dracula. Coincidence? I don't think so. This one comes from 1974. Here's the back. It's in very nice shape. In this condition, this should go for somewhere between $20 and $30. So again, excited for this pickup. And the second one that I found is this one right here. I've not seen this one before. This one has Boris Karloff in there. It has Bela Lugosi in it for The Doctor Prescribed Death. Now, I did not see a recent comp on this one on eBay, nor is there one currently listed there. Interestingly, Discogs has that the market value for this is around $15, which surprised me, just given that it just looks pretty unique, pretty interesting record right there with 2 famous vintage horror actors. But we'll see what I can get out of it for when I list it on eBay. So look for a follow-up on this record. Pretty interesting. Another one right here that I found, in fact, actually 2 things related to one theme, which is an old movie here called The Old Dark House, which also had Boris Karloff in it. So you could definitely tell that this person liked good old Boris, famous for playing the Mummy and you know, Frankenstein and the Wolfman. His face was just on so many different monsters. And in this movie, he plays a mute guy named Morgan. And this is a pre-code horror film from 1932. If you find anything related to this film, definitely pick it up because it really has a strong collectible base out there in terms of people looking for stuff with this film on it. So this is what the back of it looks like. So it's just like an old sign that you could hang up and display. Really, really neat. This is another one right here with the same film. So just be on the lookout for that. I'll bring that a little bit closer to you. Really, really nice vintage pieces here. They're gonna really look good displayed in someone's man cave or garage or something like that. Now, before I end off by showing you what I think is the coolest assortment of items, I'm gonna show you 2 miscellaneous items that were there that are fair related. This one is an old book from 1933 about Chicago and its 2 world fairs. It's a pretty neat book. It has some color on the outside, but inside is all black and white photos like this. This book has a market rate of about $20 to $30 as well. So just a nice, cool little vintage pickup that's fair related. Be on the lookout for World Fair related items, and also the New York World Fair. Now, the interesting thing about this one right here, which initially when I saw it, I thought it might be a reproduction because this looked like some modern font to it. But then if you look at the back of the envelope, that is not modern font there at all. So led me to suspect that the piece inside might indeed be vintage. And what this is a nice old piece from the 1930s. It's an accordion style peep show. And as you can see, it goes out like this and it has all these cool little pictures inside, little drawings and stuff, and you would look through it and it gives you a little peep show about the fair. No, not that kind of peep show, different kind of peep show. So it's a really cool piece, and I wound up picking this one up as well. I'll tell you the total cost for everything in the end. The interesting thing about this has to do with comps, and before I tell you about that in a second, when I was looking up comps for this, initially I didn't see any that had this stamp on it, which made me also think it might be a reproduction. But then, after doing some more digging, I was able to find some older examples that did actually include that stamp on it, same envelope, everything else included that you see here, authenticated as vintage. Now, a lot of times when this comes up for sale, it does not have the envelope. It just has this, and oftentimes this is pretty beat up. I mean, this is in remarkably good condition. There's one little stain inside of it, but besides that, I mean, this thing is pretty pure. So in terms of comps, I did see that one did previously sell in kind of like a more formal auction setting, where someone would go to look for higher end items like this for $150 about. Now there's someone right now who's trying to sell one of these on eBay for about $400 to $450, something along those lines. So really high price on it. There was someone who tried to sell one recently without the envelope, and this thing was just really badly damaged. Tried to sell it for around $60 and it didn't sell, but that's really because of the damage on it. So what's the actual true market value for this? I don't know. It's probably a good piece to put up right now around the holidays. Someone might want to gift it, but given that it does have an established prior sale of around $150, I might start it at around the $200 range and then kind of work down from it from there and see what happens with it. I might even go a little bit higher. I don't know. I'm going to do a little bit more research into it to figure out an exact price on it. But it's best to start high with this type of stuff and then work your way lower if it doesn't sell. Okay, now to a really nice assortment of items here. This is a really neat lot of 1960s and 1970s horror related magazines, some comic related, some not. Now if you have little kids who are watching this, you might want to turn them away because some of the covers might be scary for them. So we want to be mindful and be a family friendly channel here. So you might want to hit that pause button or cover your eyes, kids, because some of these covers are going to be a little scary for you. So this one right here, and don't watch this in the dark, by the way. You don't want to get nightmare like I had. I'm going to tell you about that in a little bit. So right here, you can see there's got a nice, cool Dracula cover right here. This is actually the first issue of Fantastic Monsters, so really cool to have that. And the back covers are pretty neat too. And this is really the first example of something I would say would be pretty scary for little kids to see. But you could see like these decaying bodies and stuff. But this is the kind of stuff that a vintage horror collector would really like. So really neat piece. Glad to have that one right here. Then as you can see, we've got the mummy on the cover of this Modern Monsters magazine right here. It does have a detached cover. That's not uncommon, by the way, for these old vintage magazines. This ephemera from the 1960s and 1970s. Very common with the Warren publication books and the Erie books, those sorts of things. Just a lot of wear and tear that these took. People were not putting these in comic book bags and boards back in the day. So it's very similar to the Mad magazines from this same era that I show you. People who purchase them do expect that they're going to have wear and tear to them. It does take the value down some, but it doesn't make them unsellable. So don't make that mistake if you're new, thinking that they won't sell because they have detached covers or even missing covers. So this is the third issue, and it's from 1966. So a really cool piece right there. This is another first issue here. It does have the front and back cover. It's on nice and firm. It's movie monsters. So we've got the Cyclops on the cover there. Really cool pictures inside and stuff. So you could see here. And it's not just all horror related. So there's a lot of science fiction related stuff in there too. Like you can see, we've got Planet of the Apes there. And just some really neat stuff. Just lots of stuff there. You know, you've got your Dracula stuff, of course, and just lots of cool articles and things. So people just eat this stuff up and just love reading this. We've got Monster Mania number 3. So this cover is in better condition than this one over here, which this one over here has a detached cover. And this might be one I would just kind of cast aside and put in some type of lot, like in the video that I showed you yesterday where we could sell damaged books, damaged comics, that sort of stuff. This would be something to kind of include and kind of throw into a lot like that. So, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with these in a moment if you're interested in these comics and these magazines here. This is the only one that was coverless, so this is Monster Mania number 2, but it's a nice old issue, 1967. Someone would still be interested in acquiring this issue as part of a lot. So hint, hint, what we're going to do with this. This is a nice, another nice Monster Mania book right here. Let me see, this is a collector's edition book. Really cool. Let me show you what it shows inside this flap here. How cool is that? Look at that. That is really neat. So it's got a lot of nice zombie related stuff in here. Now this one does not have the back cover on. So you can see some are detached, some have no cover. Well, only one has no cover at all, but some have, you know, like I said, detached covers, missing a back cover. It's just a mix in terms of condition. This one does have the front and back cover on it. This is a movie maker magazine that has some horror related themes inside it. Nothing really cool on the back cover, but a nice picture there on the front. We've got the third issue of Movie Monsters as well. It does have the front and back cover here, so that is good to see that. And we've got some Monsters of the Movies books here. So if we look inside, really cool articles inside here as well. They're all you know, kind of similar in that regard, in which they have these kind of black and white cool photos and article pieces inside on the monsters. So this is another Monsters of the Movies one, and this is number 7. This other one here that I showed you was number 6. So we've got number 6, we've got number 7, and we've got number 8 here as well. So it looks like there is one other coverless issue that I found. This one here, it says Curse of Frankenstein on it. Now that's not the name of the actual issue, but if you look inside, you can see that they have real scenes here that are blended in with speaking bubbles, and on some pages there's thought bubbles on them. So it's kind of like a blend of comic book related kind of story layout with actual photographic scenes. So it's pretty neat. On the back here, you could see the subscription for Creepy magazine. So Creepy magazine is another one of those to look for, similar to Eerie magazine, which I mentioned earlier. So if you ever see those, make sure you pick those up as well. And this one here, this is Monster Fantasy. That's the last one that I have here. So this one has a little bit of fraying to the edges, but this is what I mean about the kind of wear that these types of books pick up. This is volume 1, number 2, so the second issue of this one here. So really neat, and again, just to show you, just inside, it's very, similar to the other books that I showed you. You're just gonna have, really cool feature articles on different actors and different monsters and stuff, and different scenes from these different movies. Like this one here is all about the witchcraft movie, so if you like witchcraft, you'd like this. If you like zombies, you'd love this type of stuff. So what am I gonna do with this, and what's the value of these? Well, I really have to reach back into what I did yesterday. If you didn't go check my video out about how I turned 60 worthless comic books into a $137.50 eBay sale, I'm going to use that same strategy with these issues. But that's not to say that these issues are worthless. They're not worthless. I would say probably the maximum value of any one of these books is probably somewhere between $20 and $30 for a single issue, and some are going to be less than that. So what I'm going to do is just lay these out strategically like I showed you in the video yesterday, and I'm just going to put these up for auction. $9.99 for 7 days. By the time you watch this video, it will be up listed for auction. So all you have to do is go down below if you're interested in it. In the description section, you will see the link to the eBay auction. Now, this is only going to be up, that link, for the 7 days that the auction is going. So if you happen to watch this a year from now, it's not going to be there. And we'll just see what happens with it. So whatever it goes for, it goes for. By watching this channel, you at least get an early insight that this is something that's up and it's available. There are other people who are just gonna not be looking for this type of thing this week, and they're just gonna completely miss out on it. So if you're interested in it, it's available for you. And if there's anything else that you saw here that I showed today that you have an interest in, all you have to do, reach out to me, let me know, and I will get it listed and put it up for sale for you on eBay. So just be in touch with me in the comment section. Oh, how could I forget? How much money did I pay for all of this, you're wondering? $40. So that's why I say it really pays to have a good relationship with people, that you build that up over time, because that allows you just to make great deals like this. Remember, these people are not personally attached to the items. They are clearing out an estate. They know I'm interested in it. They just want to get rid of it. So, you know, just put this big stash together and just made a deal. So if you're wondering, they just asked me to throw out a number and throw out 40 bucks. They said that sounded fair to them, and you know, that's it. It's that simple. There's no negotiating back and forth. It's just like that. The way I figured it is this can, I should get most of that money back just from this. So, you know, this will turn into a pretty profitable, a little pickup pretty quickly. To wrap up, I did promise I would tell you about a nightmare estate sale situation that I was in. And I was in it literally in a nightmare. I don't know, have any of you ever had a bad dream about a garage sale or a nightmare about it or anything like that, or an estate sale? I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about this stuff too much, but I jotted down some notes so I didn't forget what happened afterwards, and so it was pretty interesting. I basically had this dream that I went to this estate sale and I started looking through items. I knew the estate sale dealer. In fact, it was my favorite #1 estate sale dealer that I always tell you about. And I found some kind of ceramic and glass item there that I don't normally pick up, that sort of stuff, and I wound up buying it for $10, and it turns out that there was a big piece of the ceramic just sheared off of the back of it. And I don't know, maybe I was thinking about that with the $10 that I spent on the Ouija board that you see back there, that later on I found out was damaged. Either I damaged it or it was damaged and covered up. And so I don't know, maybe I was thinking about that for some reason, because I do come across that down here, and that kind of wound up into my dream and kickstarted all these other things. So the next part that was really weird is I had purchased some steaks at the estate sale. Now, I've never purchased steaks at an estate sale. I wouldn't recommend it, especially what happened to me in this nightmare situation is that I bought the steaks for I think around 10 bucks, and they're in this little box, and I look at the box after I purchased them, and I start looking at them a little more closely, and I realized that they don't exactly look like steaks. And they look like skinned squirrels, and it was just really weird. And they were actually, as I started poking it, they were alive. And when I say skinned, I mean they didn't have the fur on it anymore. Like, it wasn't bleeding or anything like that. It just, there was like kind of like this, the fur was just like shaved off of it. And so I started poking at it, and then all of a sudden it jumps out of the box. It starts running down the street, and the estate sale dealer is like, "What the heck? What the heck?" So the estate sale dealer grabs the rest of the box of these things that are inside, and they all get together, start looking at it, and they just empty them out of the box, and all of a sudden they all start running down the street, and their fur actually pops back, so they run down the street as squirrels, and the estate sale dealers and everyone who's watching this all starts laughing hysterically. They think it's the funniest thing, and in the middle of the street they do this big pile up like in an end zone, and they're literally like revving up to like jump into this pile in the middle of the street. So it was crazy. Like, at that point of the dream, I got out of there, and then I realized I was supposed to pick something up from the estate sale dealer. This is in the dream, I'm realizing this. So I circle back, I drive back, I go back to the house, and I realized that for some reason I only stuck to the first floor when I went to the estate sale. And there were all sorts of people at this estate sale. Like, I mean, it was jam-packed, like many of the estate sale videos that I show you. And I look around and I walk up to the second floor and then to the third floor, and I find that it's filled, it's just chock full of collectibles. And you know, right now at this point, it's a lot of the ones that were kind of left behind, and I kind of got a sense of, you know, that there was a lot more stuff there that everyone had kind of grabbed already. And so I just felt bad that I missed out on all the good stuff. So it was kind of like, I don't know, all my worst fears kind of come true at an estate sale, all mixed together in a bizarre way in one dream. So if you ever had any weird dreams like that or anything, let me know. Share it if you're comfortable down in the comment section. I don't know all what to make of it, and I work as a psychologist, so anyway, I'm still trying to make sense of all of it. So I'll do some dream analysis on it and get back to you if I come up with any more conclusions about what all that means. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Come by the Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, and also on Instagram. I've been putting a lot more stuff on there recently, so go over to my stories, check out my profile there, and you'll see some neat stuff over there as well. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Enjoy the rest of the day. Go watch Guardians of the Galaxy with my son. So see you all at the next video, everyone. Take care.